Tom Brady traveling to play the Arizona Cardinals. Juicy matchup.
By the way, I like all the women throwing their hat in the ring. Like, and I don't blame them.
You can't have no shame when it's Tom Brady. Like, you better shoot
Nobody's
that shot,
make fun
girl.
of you.
Shoot.
I don't care how fine you is. Shoot your shot with Tom Brady.
Shoot your shot. Listen, I might throw my hat in the ring. Listen, he's very handsome. Make no mistake. Honey, I'm sorry, but TB12 is giving me a call up to the big leagues. And, yes, I'm keeping it open on Tom Brady. You had me at Arizona, okay? Well, there's only one team in the NFL that's given up more touchdown passes than the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, a disappointing loss for the Buccaneers last week, guys. But what was impressive to me is, yes, he had the turnovers. The turnovers were tough. But I don't expect that to happen against Arizona. The Bengals defense much better than the Cardinals. And more importantly, like, the offense looked competent. The offense looked like, oh, yes, that's Tom Brady. That's the Buccaneers. Look at Chris Godwin doing Chris Godwin things. Look at Mike Evans. Oh, my goodness. Russell Gage. Russell Gage showing up with 2 touchdowns. Yeah. They have Julio back, by the way. Tristan Wirfs is practicing today. So the offensive line getting healthier as well. So, yeah, I'm keeping it open. They're 6-point favorites in this game. Brady has at least 2 touchdown passes in 4 of the last 5. Top 10 play for me this week.
Yeah, QB10.
Borderline, QB10.
Yeah, QB10 for Barry.
Yep.
Lawrence, are you keeping this one open as well?
Yeah, that's I'm going to keep it open. It's been ugly for the Bucs. It's been ugly, but we ain't going to get cute. Like you said, going against Arizona, this is not Joe Burrow on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Denver Broncos just beat this team with Brett Rippon. Arizona Cardinals, 7th worst against quarterbacks in fantasy. Don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, they're 6.5. By the way, the line's moved up to 6.5. So the betting public is on Arizona.
Yeah.
All right, line open at 6, move to 6.5.
Another one, the matchup is not as friendly. Dak Prescott versus the Eagles, who we don't know who's going to start a quarterback for the Eagles in this one, but we do know Dak is back for the Cowboys. And listen, under 15 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games here, guys. Any concern over Dak? Is it time to call it after happy hour on this one?
I think it sort of depends on what you need. I mean, the screen right there sort of shows you, right? I mean, starting in week 12, 14.8, 16.8, 13.7, 20.2 at the Jaguars, and certainly the Eagles defense is much closer to the Giants and Colts than is the Jaguars. Like, he couldn't even get to 14 fantasy points against Houston. The issue with Dak Prescott isn't that he's a bad quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. The issue is that their running game is also very good, and their defense is very good. And so Dak isn't being asked to do that much. He doesn't have to. He's running their offense, but he doesn't have to get on, say, like, all right, everyone, jump on my back. This is me and CeeDee Lamb, and we're just going to throw it 45 times a game. This year, Dak Prescott has one top 5 finish. Like, just one. It was week 8 against the Bears. He's had 30 or fewer pass attempts in 4 of the past 5 games. Having said all that, he's Dak Prescott. They are favored in this game. Vegas currently does not think, our friends at BetMGM currently do not think Gardner Minshew is going to play in this game. And so the Eagles, who have allowed at least 19 fantasy points to starting quarterbacks in back-to-back games, who might be in poor field position because Gardner Minshew ain't Jalen Hurts, and does he throw a pick or two? He's got a little bit of gunslinger in him, like he gets sometimes careless with the ball. So Dak Prescott, who's had 2 touchdown passes in 6 of the 8 games he's played since he returned, he's much more of a floor play than he is an upside play. So it depends on your matchup. Are you in the second week of a matchup? Are you heavy underdogs? Like, it depends on what you need. He's going to be fine. He is much more of a floor quarterback than upside quarterback. If I need to swing for the fences, see what else you have out there. So I'm probably keeping it open if you've been using him till this point. Yeah. But if I need to, like I said, he's my QB 12. I think there's a reason why.
That's a solid ranking, respectable. Yeah. It's like you ain't putting him too high, but it's like you ain't just going, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the thing. It's the yards that's getting him. He not throwing for 300 yards every game, because 2 of the last 3 games he's threw at least 3 touchdowns. So it's like you getting the touchdowns, but not the yards. And he's still throwing at least 30 passes in his past 4 games. So while that's not crazy volume, it's not the bare minimum, So that's why we had to keep this open on that.
Lawrence, let's stay with this game with Miles Sanders on the other end of things. We don't know who's going to start a quarterback, which you hinted at earlier could impact, what kind of effect Miles Sanders has on this game, notably in the red zone. Where are you at with him after? He's exceeded expectations this year in fantasy, but he's cooled off the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and as you can see on the screen there, it's up and down, up and down. I will add, though, a lot of his rushing success is due to the threat of Jalen Hurts running the ball. He'll get more opportunities without Jalen, So it's like 50-50 there, And, first off, just in case y'all didn't see, he don't care about y'all tickets or y'all fantasy points or whatever. He don't care, but we still going to start him. We going to keep it open, right? Travis Etienne got back going. He was kind of on the downside. He got back right versus Dallas. The week before that, Dameon Pierce had a good game against Dallas. So I want to keep this open on Miles Sanders and see what he do.
Here's what I want to do. I want to see whether or not Jalen Hurts or Gardner Minshew is starting in this particular game. Because if Gardner Minshew is starting, I agree with Lawrence here. I'm keeping it open, right? Last year, the second most fantasy points he had in a game last season was with Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback. When Gardner Minshew started in Week 13 last year, he had 27 touches. That was a season high for him last year. And by the way, one of the issues for Miles Sanders is he keeps getting vultured at the goal line by Jalen Hurts. So if Jalen Hurts isn't there, he's got a much better chance of getting into the end zone against Dallas. However, if Jalen Hurts starts, then I think I'm closing it out. In games this year in which Miles Sanders does not score a touchdown, he's got double-digit touchdowns on the season, but in games in which he doesn't get into the end zone, he's averaging 6.4 fantasy points per game. So, and I think that there's a chance if Jalen Hurts plays that he vultures a touchdown. Now, again, if Jalen Hurts is playing, he's playing with a bum shoulder, and so maybe Nick Sirianni says, no, listen, you're not going into the scrum there. Hand it off to Miles or Boston Scott or something like that. But there is always still the chance that there's a bootleg run or something like that, or even like one of the touchdowns we saw last week, which was a 10-yard run where he just kept going because no one was there, and brilliant play call by the Eagles. So I think that in the semifinals where you can't get cute, I think given the fact that he's struggled, he doesn't have passing game usage, he's struggled so much, and it's a tough matchup. I think that if Hurts is starting, I'm probably closing it out on Miles Sanders. But the expectation right now is that Gardner Minshew is going to start, so I'm keeping it open on Miles Sanders.
All right, we always start off with a couple easy ones. It's basically dollar beers for the first couple. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. Let's make this a little bit more difficult right now and look at Leonard Fournette. Sure, matchup's great. Arizona's defense, not really much going there. But with Leonard Fournette right now, the floor seems to always be there with Leonard Fournette. Yeah. The ceiling has not been what you hoped for when you take Leonard Fournette, early in fantasy drafts. So, Barry, where are you at with Fournette this week? Where the good thing is Arizona's playing Trace McSorley. They could fall behind in this game, and the Bucs are just running the ball. But will it be Leonard Fournette?
Yeah, I think it'll be a split between him and Rachaad White. But in a game in which they're favored by almost a touchdown, give me Uncle Lenny in this one. Actually, he may show up on love-hate this week, and others receiving votes. Just something to keep up. He's had 6 straight games with double-digit fantasy points. He plays Arizona that gives up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. He plays an Arizona defense that just made Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack.
Did you see that?
Fantasy heroes.
Did you see that?
Back to life, Marlon Mack.
Running all over him.
All over him. And so, again, we talked about it with Brady. Their offensive line is getting healthier. They're favorites in this game. I think Fournette, who, has gotten some passing game usage as well. Yeah, I think Fournette is a viable flex this week. I'm keeping it open on Uncle Lenny.
Yeah, he's got the 6 targets over the last 3 games as an average. We gonna start calling him fantasy playoff Lenny now.
Yeah, there you go.
They definitely, you can't call him Lombardi Lenny no more because they ain't looking like no Lombardi team. We'll call him fantasy playoff Lenny, and I got a prediction that you're gonna have Leonard Fournette on that love list.
All right, there you go. There you go.
All right, moving over to Deontay Foreman against the Lions. Listen, disaster week for Deontay Foreman last week. 10 carries, 9 yards. Probably bumped a lot of people from the playoffs that started Deontay Foreman.
Brutal.
And we know Bam Knight had no success against this Lions front because the Lions are defenses like this right now, guys. If you don't have a quarterback that they respect, and it felt that way against Zach Wilson, will probably feel that way against Sam Darnold, they will load up the box and sell out. Lawrence, hearing that, where's your confidence with Foreman this week?
It's confident enough to know I'll close this tab and go home earlier than that 10:30 you was talking about earlier. Seeing what Zonovan Knight went through against that Lions defense was enough for me because he had been successful for 2-3 weeks prior to that. You can throw against this Detroit Lions defense, but you cannot run against them. So think about that for the next guy we talk about, but I got to keep it close. Plus, Chuba Hubbard, he's made himself a factor the past 2 weeks, so I got to close it out. But, hey, I like you, though, Deontay Foreman.
Like him too, but the problem is that it doesn't seem like Carolina does anymore, which is it's super weird, right? I mean, like he played less than 30% of the snaps last week as well. He's had 1 reception in the past 5 games. He has no passing game usage at all, and so it appears to be on the wrong side of a timeshare with Chuba Hubbard, and I don't know why that switch happened. But to your point about the Lions, they're a top 3 run defense over the last month, and so you've got a guy that's got no passing game usage in a really tough matchup on the wrong side of a timeshare. Like, he's in my 40s. Like, after what you saw last week, you're in week 16 of the fantasy playoffs. First off, by the way, if you started him last week, you probably got bounced. But if you somehow miraculously survived last week based on his 0.1 or whatever it is he got, why on earth would you ever go back to the well? Right, exactly. Like, you're on live number 9 now. Like, you wasted
maybe they like, you know what? I still won last week. I'm going to just leave him in.
Oh, God. I know. I'm closing it out. And it's unfortunate because I have Deontay Foreman in a lot of leagues, but I'm closing him out.
Let's stay with that offense and look on the other side of things with DJ Moore, who, listen, for all the good about the Lions' run defense, a lot of bad about the pass defense. They give up a lot of yards. They give up a ton of points on the back end here. We know the story with DJ Moore this year. We don't have to go back down that road. But, Barry, do you dare start him with this matchup in the fantasy playoffs?
I'm at wide receiver 27. Boy, and this one's so tough. Again, he did have the touchdown last week. Sam Darnold did play well. It was by the way, that catch was a ridiculous. It was like that much of a corner to the end zone. That DJ Moore came down with. And to your point, I don't think they're going to run that successfully against Detroit. They're a bottom 3 pass defense over the last 4 weeks. That's how you attack them. I am reluctantly keeping it open with DJ Moore. Reluctantly. Very, again.
I know, why am I clapping it's a shoe?
Dude, he's brutal. He's wide receiver 27. Again, because of the matchup, because Sam Darnold's looked competent the last 2 weeks, let me put it this way. By keep it open, I assume you've been playing him this whole time. So if you've gotten to this point with him, I assume you're in a 12-team or deeper league where you don't have a lot of other great options. Again, he's a risky wide receiver 3, but I'm going to reluctantly keep it open on DJ Moore.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should really have the audacity at this point in the fantasy season to bench him versus the Lions. If it was somebody else, maybe, but we just saw Zach Wilson throw for over 300 yards against them boys. So it's like, Sam Darnold, he could do that. They got similar traits, so then they ain't going to run against them. Use that mobility, Sam Darnold, make those big throws that you can, and hopefully they are caught by DJ Moore.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing I will say, though, is just as you sort of look through your lineup, just to understand that, when DJ Moore is bad, he is bad. Yeah. He is absolutely brutal. Yeah. He's had single-digit fantasy points in 50% of his games this year. He's got 6 different games with under 7 fantasy points. So when he kills you, he absolutely kills you. But it's been a little bit better recently. Yeah. There does seem it's a good matchup.
You start him, but you can't be mad if he flops. You can't be mad.
He is a textbook definition of a risk-reward wide receiver 3 this week.
All right, our last one here, Amari Cooper against the Saints, 8 points per game in the 3 games he's played with Deshaun Watson this year. Obviously, has not gotten to that double-digit territory. As you see on the screen right now, here's his stats since Watson was named the starter. Lawrence, with that trickle effect, it's crazy. Cooper was fine with Jacoby Brissett. This offense has not been the same way as Watson tries to shake the rust off. Are you closing it out on Amari Cooper?
That thing is going to be so closed this week. Now, I don't even got to look at these stats, right? I just know it's going to be cold Amari Cooper day, and that don't ever go well. Then you take it to the fact that the game total is set at 32.5.
The lowest in 10 years, I think?
Yeah, more than 10 years. This is 2008.
It don't even look real. When you look at your whatever sportsbook app you use, when you look at it, it don't even look real.
Yeah. Iowa Northwestern. That's the kind of game total it's set at.
Right. Perfect example.
My kids' high school games are set with a higher over/under than 32.5.
Yeah, man.
I just. By the way, what do you mean what sportsbook app? You're looking at BetMGM, where you've used promo code Barry. Come on.
That's what they should be using.
Should be doing.
That's what they should be using. But some folks be hating. We got to get them to come over to our side.
Right, exactly, Lawrence. I appreciate that. I agree with you. It doesn't look real. So not only is it going to be cold, It's going to be windy. 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts are expected in this game, and we've seen it over the years every once in a while, especially as we get late in the season. Those windy games in Cleveland, like it's where that stadium is and where like it just gets like brutal. And then you think about the fact that Amari Cooper traditionally has not played well in the cold. He has not looked good or on the same page with Deshaun Watson since he has started as quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And a tough matchup as well against the New Orleans Saints. We'll see if Marshawn Lattimore is active for this game. I don't know, but there's a chance that he might be. All of it just screams, no. We're closing it out.
You could be covering Amari. You could be
home.
covering Amari Cooper this week. Trust me on that.
It'd have to be a zone coverage. I need some
cover two.
I need some help over the top. And candidly, underneath as well.
Connor got you over the top.
I got you over the top.
He got you over the top.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's why I'll get us out of here.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.